Hi there, my name is Philo Beck and the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share and subscribe and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. It's Hanukkah, so I got my little Hanukkah candles going on down here somewhere. And I have been thinking lots about, not Doctor Who, I have been thinking lots about Doctor Who, but actually I've been thinking about Star Wars. So, going into the Rise of Skywalker, I was under the impression that it was basically impossible to come up with a movie that would repair the damage done by The Last Jedi and still be a worthwhile movie, a good and engaging movie. So I thought that was, it seemed like an impossible task to put all those toys back in the box and like make it work again. And then, this weekend I was sitting and thinking about it, and I think I came up with the story. Well, at least the bare bones of a story that would have actually worked then. Much better than this frenetic mess that we got that desperately tried to win back the audience that it had alienated and just failed. I think, I don't know, Star Wars fans are enjoying it, but I'm a Star Wars fan. I know, I don't think, I just don't think it's going to stand the test of time at all. Here's what I think would have worked. Let me know what you think. Let me see if you think this works. So, imagine the movie starts off, you have the opening crawl. The opening crawl was horrible, by the way. Start with the opening crawl, pans down into space. There's a space battle going on, and it's Kylo Ren's forces wiping out the remnant of Snoke's forces. Which actually I started mentioning this on another video the other day. And so you have that opening space battle, and it gets down to Snoke's castle, and they find there like a holocron from Emperor Palpatine, containing all his knowledge. And maybe if you want to bring Palpatine back, they could have, I've said this is the third time I said this, they could have had an android with a holographic Palpatine face that knows it's an android, but also has all the knowledge of Palpatine. And that way you would have been able to bring the character back without invalidating the entire original trilogy, which I think, Palpatine's return really did do. So you could have this this Sith android holocron, whatever it was, be the power behind Snoke. So again, that gives Snoke more depth, more interest, and he makes it more of a character rather than a guy who was just grown in a tub, as we saw in the corner. And then there's one final chamber that Kylo Ren can't get into, and the Palpatine android thing can then be tempting him to go to the darker side of the Force, saying the only way you can gain entry to this chamber is by is through a death, a meaningful death, which then you cut to Leia, which really didn't work, training Rey, and Kylo Ren force chokes her across the galaxy, to create this death, moving Princess Leia off the board and giving her a death, that thing in keeping with the rest of the prequel, the sequel trilogy. But he does that, and so he kills his mother, and that also would motivate Rey to be a better protagonist, a more a character that's lost something at this point, even though she never really met Princess Leia. But at least they could pretend, And then he gets into that chamber, and what's he find in the chamber? Luke Skywalker, frozen, captured by Snoke. So at that point, that gets me into a really interesting story. It undoes the deconstruction of Luke Skywalker from the Last Jedi. So then somehow we can have we can have Kylo Ren parade him round, and or something. It becomes known that Kylo Ren has Luke Skywalker, and then the thrust of the movie can be to rescue Luke Skywalker. And when they do, and that would be essentially the movie. And then finally, when they break Luke Skywalker out, he can then explain what Finn's background was, why the death at the beginning of the Force Awakens. You got that blood palm print on his armor, which seemed to wake him up, and that seemed to be the Force Awakening. And that he can explain why that happened, who Finn was, give Finn more of a Jedi-esque background, and then you can have Luke, Ray, and Finn team up together to defeat the Palpatine robot augmented Kylo Ren, and yeah, you would be it'll be a battle with real stakes, and throughout that. Yeah, you could superpower Kylo through all the stuff that he's got from that he's now inherited from Snoke. And yeah, I think at the end you could have Luke Skywalker then go off and become one with the Force. And you know that speech he gave in the what's that trailer that that it's your fight now. It would have been uplifting. It would have like then it would have handed over a banner, the baton to Ray, the baton to the new characters, make them into real characters, make them into a real movie, and which I don't think we had. I think we had a video game that gave me just gave me a bad time. It made my head hurt. So that's like my 2-minute pitch for what this movie could have been and would have been and would have done it. It would have worked. Oh, it's so sad because originally I thought they just had to redo The Last Jedi or because it's and now and look the way where it is now. I think their smartest move would be to say there's multiple different universes. You could have the galaxies of Star Wars, and you recanonize the EU, make the EU one Star Wars. You make the sequel trilogy another Star Wars, and then that opens the door. You could do yet another sequel trilogy. That's really I think their only play they have now moving forward. Mandalorian's great. I love the Mandalorian. I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see more in that world. And I like Episode 7, one of the best pieces of TV this year. Really, really that final scene when he got the Ugnaught on the whatever it is with the baby Yoda, right? Riding to get to the ship. That was just pure cinema. I loved it. But it's not moving the story forward. So this idea would have been a way to move the story forward and give us a satisfying conclusion. So, but like my real point is this: whenever you think there's no way when everything is dependent on having an idea, and you think there's no way you can have that idea, that's crazy talk. Ideas are infinite. It's hard for a human brain to conceive of infinity because we are finite beings by our nature. If you say a boundary around anything, if you say things like you say any amount of space, you always imagine a boundary around it. And when you say no, there's something beyond that boundary, then you go then you think of a boundary around that because that's how our brains are hardwired to work. Because again, we live within time and space. But one thing that is infinite, one thing that has no boundaries, one thing that cannot be contained is ideas. And that's the tragedy of Disney Star Wars. It's out of ideas. It's just bankrupt from ideas. And it's so tragic because it's such a incredibly rich pool of ideas that can come from it, which I just demonstrated. You know what? I think that actually really would have worked to make. I mean, yeah, it was all in the realization of, but like at least in the story structure, that would have really worked. And I'm really kind of sad that J.J. Abrams didn't come up with something as good as that because he objectively didn't. Although, who knows what J.J. came up with. I think the version that we saw on the screen was very far removed from the script. What happened to Matt Smith, for example? He was apparently, Matt Smith, former Doctor, he was apparently in it. I saw pictures of him with a wart-covered face. I don't know. So I don't think we're ever going to know what really happened with Star Wars. Somewhere there is a fantastic documentary that will never be made about the infighting in Lucasfilm, about the sequel trilogy, about the spitefulness between between Ruan Johnson. I shouldn't give him his real name. And the chaos and the mismanagement that's made this what I would frankly call a cinematic disaster. What do you think? What do you think of my idea? I think it's pretty darn good. But tell me I'm wrong. Tell me where you disagree with me. Right? Like, share, subscribe. Ask me a question. Put it in a comment. I love to get back to you guys. Yeah, again, as I said, hit the like button. If you could subscribe, that would make my life fantastic. If you could share, also, that's fantastic to get these videos out to a wider audience. Thanks so much, and have a great day.